Tonight, we travel to Indiana as we search for the most unique attractions this country has to offer. We visit the estate of the shortest-serving president in the United States history. Take a look at the world's only working rotary jail. Tour the world's only museum devoted to superheroes and more. Join us tonight as we search for what makes this country the unique states of America. Our journey begins in Vincennes. Located on the Wabash River, Vincennes is about 130 miles southwest of Indianapolis. It's also home to Vincennes University, the oldest college in Indiana, and one of only 2 colleges in the country founded by a president. That president was William Henry Harrison. Also located in Vincennes is his Indiana home, Grouseland. When it comes to presidents, Harrison certainly was unique. Not only was he a United States president, but also an American military officer, politician, and the last president born as a British subject. Harrison was the first president to die in office at the age of 68, making him the oldest president to take office until Ronald Reagan in 1981. Harrison died on his 32nd day in office. Harrison originally gained national fame for leading U.S. forces against American Indians at the Battle of Tippecanoe. That battle took place against the Confederacy of Native Indian warriors. One of Harrison's greatest personal achievements was Grouseland. Harrison bought over 300 acres of land before starting the development of his new home. Grouseland was the first brick home in Indiana and was built in a fortress style to deter and defend against any attacks by the many Native American tribes local to the area. This includes a working well, along with windows designed to give maximum visibility to oncoming attacks. Lisa Ice Jones is the director of Grouseland. She specializes in the history of Harrison as well as his former home.
Harrison was appointed by President John Adams in 1800 to become the new governor of the newly aligned Indiana Territory. He wasn't too excited to come out here to this vast territory that was largely unsettled by the Americans, but he was sent out here to do 2 very important jobs: to attract as many settlers to come here as he possibly could, and to treat with the Indians and obtain as much land for the new American government and its expansion as he could. And he did both of those jobs very well. Also, what he did very well is to build a very magnificent and showy structure. He basically had to come here to the territory and obtain the authority, make his presence known, make the presence of the American government here to be seen. So he had to really come and take that authority.
Inside, visitors get an up-close glimpse of life on the early frontier. Nearly all of the furnishings in the house are original to the property and were donated by the Harrison family. To build the home, they used all homemade materials, including all of the 400,000 bricks and hand-forged nails. And it was said to have cost $20,000, which would be about $500,000 today.
The walls are 4 bricks thick. That ensured safety. So the idea was that you couldn't shoot through the house, you couldn't burn it down. It was basically a haven of safety. We have a tourist legend here in one of the shutters in the dining room that there was actually a hostile shot through that shutter to try to assassinate Harrison when he was standing in front of the fireplace. Obviously, that was not successful, and had that been successful, we not only would have not had our 9th president, we also would not have had our 23rd president, because William Henry Harrison was also the grandfather of Benjamin Harrison, our 23rd president.
The Harrison Governor's Chair is of historical and modern significance to citizens of Indiana.
The Governor's Chair that we have in the bedroom upstairs at Grouseland has also been used during the last two gubernatorial inaugurations here in Indiana. Governor Daniels and Governor Pence were both inaugurated in that chair, and hopefully maybe with the upcoming election, we'll put it to use again. So we have redubbed that chair the Governor's Chair.
Also housed here is the State Rifle of Indiana, declared in 2012 by Governor Mitch Daniels as the official state gun. This rifle is said to be over 200 years old and was made by Indiana's first sheriff, John Small. This gun is one of only 6 long rifles made by Small that has ever been found. Grouseland was added to the list of National Historical Landmarks in 1966. Visiting this stately mansion, we can also see some of the best structural designs in Indiana and some of the most priceless and unique artifacts as well. Next on our road trip, we visit a town that is just full of holiday cheer. This is Santa Claus. Indiana, that is. The town was established in 1854 and known as Santa Fe. In 1856, when the town was working to establish a post office, the United States Postal Service refused their first application because there was already a town named Santa Fe. Several town meetings were held, during which the name Santa Claus was chosen. The town has the world's only post office to bear the name of Santa Claus. Because of this popular name, the post office receives thousands of letters to Santa from all over the world each year. James Martin, the 14th postmaster, answered every letter himself until a volunteer group called Santa's Elves began helping answer the letters. This is a tradition that has lasted since 1914. The town's name caught the attention of Vincennes, Indiana entrepreneur Milt Harris. He created Santa's Candy Castle, the first tourist attraction there, which is also reported to be the first themed attraction in the United States. Santa Claus Town attractions included a red brick candy castle, the Toy Village, a museum dedicated to Santa Claus, and Santa Claus Land. On August 3, 1946, retired industrialist Louis J. Cook opened Santa Claus Land, which is claimed to be the world's first theme park. The park's name was changed to Holiday World in 1984. In 1993, it became Holiday World and Splash and Safari when a water park was added. It attracts more than 1 million visitors annually. It's also home to The Voyage, which has repeatedly been voted by coaster enthusiasts as the #1 wooden roller coaster in the world. In 2005, a local development company purchased Santa's Candy Castle and other buildings that comprise Santa Claus Town and announced plans to restore and reopen them to the public. Santa's Candy Castle was the first building of the original Santa Claus Town to be reopened on July 1, 2006. The 40-ton, 22-foot concrete Santa Claus statue was restored in 2011. It's always Christmas in Santa Claus. From its festively named streets and lodges to the thrills and excitement of Holiday World, Santa Claus is without a doubt like nothing else. Up next on our trip through Indiana, we stop at a little town called Crawfordsville, where you can find small town shops and a friendly atmosphere. We, however, are going to one particular place where you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time, the Crawfordsville Rotary Jail. It's the only full functional rotary jail left in the world. So what is a rotary jail? We're visiting with Matt Salzman, the executive director, to find out more.
They had the design made for the rotary jail, and they would sell it to rural counties. They really targeted rural counties because they wanted to have this jail for districts that had very small populations and wanted to save on costs. The way that this works is that you really only need 1 or 2 guards.
The fact that the jail only needed 2 guards to operate made it very appealing to rural Montgomery County, Indiana. The Montgomery County Rotary Jail opened in 1882 as an intended solution to the problem of housing prisoners safely and efficiently. The cell block could be rotated by a single man and a hand crank. The crank is connected to gears beneath the structure, which rotates the entire cell block. This is the same system that is used to turn train cars around today. The cells are wedge-shaped pieces, forming a circle around the crank. There are also 2 other types of cells, the maximum security cell and the women's cell. In the basement, workers would burn coal to help heat the cells above during the winter months. This didn't seem to help much, though, as reports of frostbite among inmates were common. The infirmary was originally designed to be used as a place for injured inmates. But after construction, it was realized that going up a few flights of stairs with a prisoner who had a broken leg was not the best idea. Connected to the jail was the sheriff's home.
Whoever was the sheriff would live here with his wife and their kids if he was married. The wife generally would be the matron of the house, so she would be in charge of all of the cooking for the prisoners, and if it was her decision to, also for the guards. But they would all live here with their children in the house. The reason being for that is that when it was built, obviously there were no automobiles. So crime happens there every hour, so they needed the sheriff to be on scene at all times at the jail. So they built a house for him at the jail.
The house included gas as well as electricity, because at the time it was built, electricity was coming to Crawfordsville, but wasn't available yet. The pie-shaped rotary cells were convenient for less staff, but they did have their problems.
Prisoners would do pretty much anything to escape. One of the key features of this jail is that the bars don't spin, but everything in the interior does. So what prisoners would do is stick their arms or legs outside of the bars while the mechanism was spinning. This would lead to broken arms and broken legs, and they would have to be taken out to go to the doctor, and it was really a good situation for a lawsuit against the county.
Eventually, the jail was considered unsafe because of the risk of prisoners sticking their arms and legs through the bars, and the fact that the jail had no safe way to evacuate for fires. Because of this, the jail was shut down. The jail's unique structure as a rotary jail was the first of its kind ever to be built in the United States. Today, it stands as the only operational rotary jail structure in the world. But instead of housing prisoners, it's now a museum. Many interesting stories still reside within the mysterious walls of the Montgomery County Rotary Jail. These stories are brought to life by taking a stroll around its unique design. From a hall of criminals, we travel to a hall of heroes. The Hall of Heroes Museum in Elkhart, Indiana. Superheroes are America's Greek mythology. Stories made not just for children, but to inspire everyone. There is one place in the world that's dedicated to the historical preservation of these cultural icons, the Hall of Heroes Museum. Not only does the Hall of Heroes Museum dedicate itself to the historical preservation of these icons, but it is also a place where we can find the largest collection of superhero memorabilia in the world. What kind of Superman could be in charge of all this? His name is Alan Stewart, and he is curator and executive director of the museum.
We cover the whole 75-year history of superheroes in comics, toys, film, and animation. The collection we preserve here is the largest superhero memorabilia collection in the world. It consists of over 100 pieces of original art, animation cells, and comic book pages, over 60,000 comic books, and over 10,000 toys, figures, movie props, you name it. And 90% of our museum's collection started out with my personal collection.
A personal collection that started with America's first superhero, Superman.
The Superman wooden doll, that's from 1939, a year after he appeared in comic books. That is actually the first superhero toy, period, because it predates the first appearance of Batman. We are one of only 2 museums that has one of those rare Superman wooden dolls from 1939.
Superman isn't the only hero that Alan has covered here. His Batman collection exceeds more than most people. He even set up his own personal Batcave to mirror the 1960s Batman television show.
Welcome to our Batcave. This area here is airbrushed to look kind of like the set of the 60s TV show. The coolest thing here in our Batcave, of course, is Adam West's costume. This is Adam West's personal costume that he wore throughout the 70s and 80s at public appearances. But it's one of a kind. The boots are actually from the show, but it's just really cool piece of memorabilia that we have. It's probably the coolest thing here in our museum to have that.
We already mentioned a bit about Superman in the Golden Age, but the Silver Age of comics brought us the superheroes and villains of the well-known and loved Marvel Universe.
This section here is our Silver Age era section. This is going to be a lot more familiar to folks because this would have been in the beginnings of the Marvel Universe. And here at the bottom row of our case, this is kind of like the big wow section to a lot of folks. The first appearances of the Fantastic Four, Thor, X-Men, the Hulk, Daredevil, Spider-Man. Stan Lee autographed that for us when he was here filming his Superfan show in 2012. First Iron Man, Avengers, Ant-Man.
From the first appearances of Marvel's finest to the golden age of Superman and Batman, Alan sure knows how to collect the rarest of items. But perhaps his most valuable items are from the silver screen. Throughout the years, Alan has made it his goal to acquire the most prized memorabilia from the different Marvel and DC movies and television shows. Such pieces include Captain America's shield from the movie Captain America, the First Avenger, signed by the entire cast of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We have the rare Spider-Man movie poster. It shows the Twin Towers in the eyepiece. Most folks have never seen this movie poster because the movie posters got released to theaters about 9 months before the Spider-Man movie came out. When the posters arrived, it was about 3 weeks before 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, of course, they were recalled and sent back. Most theaters hadn't even unpackaged them.
Fans young and old can be found exploring Alan's collection. There truly is something for everybody at the Hall of Heroes Museum. Next, we go from superheroes to supercars with our next stop, the Auburn Cord-Duesenberg Museum. Indiana has always had a love for the automobile. In fact, in the early 1900s, over 40 cities and towns in Indiana were manufacturing cars. One of these early auto pioneers was the Auburn Automobile Company located in Auburn, Indiana. In 1924, owner Ralph Austin Bard approached successful car salesman and businessman E.L. Cord in hopes that he would run the company, which by this era had fallen on hard times. Cord took over the company and began manufacturing several models of luxurious cars. In 1930, construction was completed on the new headquarters of the Auburn Automobile Company, which today is the Auburn Cord-Duesenberg Museum, the next stop on our journey across Indiana. Here, in the original showroom, customers from all over the world would walk through and decide which new innovative model of Auburn, Cord, or Duesenberg they wanted to purchase. This showroom still houses the same iconic cars that it did over 75 years ago. Sam Great, the collections manager, has the privilege of handling these classics on a daily basis.
This museum was the original International Administration building for the Auburn Automobile Company. It was built in 1930, and it features many different Art Deco styled decor, which reflects the Art Deco style cars that were built back in that day.
At the time of production, these were some of the most luxurious and expensive vehicles in the world.
A man named E.O. Cord came and became general manager of the company. And the first thing that he did was, there was a big backlot of unsold cars at that time, and he took those cars and he managed to sell them, make a good profit for the company, and was able to turn it around. And in 1926, he became president of the company. He was rather unscrupulous with the stock market. He would often inflate stocks, and that came to backfire on him, and in 1937 he had to sell all of his remaining stock that he had in all his companies and any assets that he had. And prior to that time, the Auburn Automobile Company was suffering from declining sales. Despite what they tried to do, they couldn't get the sales to where they needed to create a profit. Ultimately, when E.O. Cord sold his Cord Corporation and all his assets, that's when the automobile division completely shut down. The museum opened in 1974. We have on display currently 132 vehicles, of which about 70% the museum owns. Several different galleries displaying not only Auburn's Cords and Duesenbergs, but also other classic cars of the era, such as cars made in Indiana, special interest cars, and other cars that people have on loan here.
The museum houses one of the rarest models of Duesenbergs in the world, the famed Duesenberg Model X.
The Model X automobiles, the Duesenbergs, they were built first as chassis. Only 13 chassis were created, and of those 13 chassis, 5 were actually bodied, and of those 5, only 4 exist. This Duesenberg is what we refer to as the rarest of the rare Duesenbergs, and this is because it is in the best condition, and it's the only speedster Duesenberg built for the Model X designation. This was built as strictly a show car in that it has no windshield wipers, it has no roof for it. It was built purposefully to keep Duesenberg in the public eye during the off years when they were producing these cars.
The Model X isn't the only rare automobile in this museum. Also in its collection is a rare 1931 Duesenberg Model J.
Now, not only did Auburn Automobile Company produce some of the finest cars of the classic era, but they were also styled by some of the finest designers. This Duesenberg was styled by a gentleman named Gordon Burig. Gordon Burig was one of the more well-known designers of the Auburn Cord and Duesenberg automobiles. This Model J Beverly sedan is perhaps his best-known Duesenberg style. It's well-proportioned. In terms of other Duesenberg body styles, it's very sleek. And not only did he style the exterior, but he also styled the interior of the Duesenberg.
In addition to the rare Auburns, Cords, and Duesenbergs, the museum houses several special interest automobiles. These range from early prototypes to rare European classics and special vehicles loaned to the museum. One of these, on loan from the Museum of Crime and Punishment in Washington, D.C., used to belong to one of the most infamous Indiana natives, John Dillinger. This 1933 Essex Terraplane was used by Dillinger to outrun and evade the police in 1934. Dillinger liked these cars because they could easily outrun those driven by police. The Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum stands as a monument to the innovative nature of the early automobile pioneers. It was their drive and determination to create new, exciting products that have shaped the automobile landscape and laid the groundwork for the modern cars that we know today. From Santa Claus castles to presidential palaces, from a one-of-a-kind prison to a car showroom frozen in time, we have had a great trip through the Hoosier State. That's what makes Indiana one of the unique states of America.